Okay, so now we move on to the second requirement. So I need another factor which enables globalization, which means I need a factor that enables movement of goods and services. That's here. I need a factor that also helps to move capital. And I need a factor that helps to move labor, which you realize in the previous requirement we didn't do. Yeah, so I want to make sure I capture the labor part this time. Okay, so the factor I'm going to pick here is government policies. Yeah, government policies. So another factor that has enabled globalization is government policies. Okay, so the government policies I'm going to pick here is a free trade agreement. Yeah, so I'll start with a free trade agreement. One such policy is an FTA. So if you remember what the definition is, FTA, an FTA is a legally binding agreement, between two or more countries, to eliminate or reduce trade barriers between them. Okay, so I'll give you some examples. So we have one, maybe let's see what's a good one. Oh yes, so for multilateral one, so if there's more than two parties, then it's called a multilateral free trade agreement. Multilateral FTA. The one we're going to use, you can say the ASEAN free trade agreement. Okay, which is between all ASEAN countries. That's one. Or you can have a bilateral FTA. Which is, for example, the China-Singapore FTA. China-Singapore FTA, which is also called the CSFTA. Yeah. Okay, so then let's get to the trade. So we're going to link to, this is government policies. Let's move to goods and services first. Yeah, so let's do goods and services. Okay, so FTAs would remove tariffs for countries' exports. Yeah, and a reduction in the price of exports will lead to an increase in quantity demanded for exports. So this will mean increased movement of goods and services. That's one. And then also rules, regulations, and procedures and custom procedures. Procedures are also simplified. Making it easier for firms to gain access to export markets. Easier for firms to gain access to export markets. Yeah. So again, this will lead to an increased movement of goods and services. Yeah. So the other one, so government policies. An FTA, like what I mentioned previously, right? So an FTA also helps you to encourage investments. Yeah. So this second one is capital or FDI. Yeah. Number 2, which is FDI or capital. Okay, let's see how do we elaborate this. Okay, FTAs also involve also mean sorry also involve relaxation of business regulations for foreign firms and reduce barriers to cross-border investment. Okay, and then moreover, so then businesses, because now you have FTA, so the business will want to relocate to your country because you have FTA, so that they can have tariff-free import from other countries. So let's say you sign with, let's say this is you, you sign a FTA with country A, and this firm moves into your country, sets up shop here, then they can get the good A directly from the others from you without having to pay tariff. So maybe last time if they get it, if they get it directly from A, they need to pay tariff, okay. But if they move to and relocate to your country, then they are part of you, so they don't really need to pay tariff through here. Okay, so that's another possible reason. Okay, let's erase this. Okay, so businesses are also attracted to relocate to one's country, to another country, to another country, as it can import raw materials and export finished goods and services without the implication of tariff. So you can buy stuff without tariff, you can sell stuff without tariffs. Yeah. So this will encourage the possible increase in expected rate of return would encourage FDI. So this is the second part. Okay, now let's go to the third one. The third one is labor. So that's here, labor. Okay, so let's do R2, government policies to encourage labor. Okay, governments can also enact, maybe governments have also enacted more liberal immigration policies and rules for obtaining work permits. So it makes it easier to get work permits. So then two things have happened. So one, let's see. Okay, so maybe you can say maybe low skilled workers from countries like Indonesia, Myanmar, or Bangladesh are now able to find work, able to find work in other countries, in other developed countries that offer higher wages. So that's one. Okay, we can add some more. We can say that governments around the world have also stepped up to pursue to attract, not pursue, but to attract skilled workers. So one example you have is the One Pass by the Singapore government that allows if you're a skilled foreign worker, you can bring with above a certain wage limit, then you're allowed to bring you firstly the One Pass will be awarded to you for a much longer time. So maybe the work permit is only gives you permission to stay in Singapore for 2 years. The One Pass allows you to stay for much longer, and it also allows you to bring your family over. Yeah. So the One Pass. Many other countries also have their equivalent of the One Pass to attract skilled workers. Yeah. So so then this collectively, these policies have encouraged movement of goods and services, capital / FDI, and labor, and hence has enabled globalization to occur. So 3 facets, make sure you touch base with them: goods and services, which is trade, capital, FDI, and then last one is labor.